Let me know if y'all can hear me. Hold on. Hopefully it's on. But what's poppin'? What's poppin'? It's Sugar working Audrina, aka Nae Nae. So I'm gonna take this moment and a recap from the last episode, of course. So the last episode of Sipping Tea, we talked about sex and intimacy, and we had a special guest by the name of Stacy Johnson on here, and she broke down what sex and intimacy looks like in a marriage, because we all know that sex is for the married people anyway. So yeah, she explained, she got down to the gist of what needed to be talked about, and she explained what intimacy is to her. It was a really good episode, so if you have not checked it out, please check it out. Go over on my YouTube, my Facebook. It's over there somewhere. Tonight we're going to be talking about mental health, which I'm extremely excited about. Kind of nervous. For some reason, God told me this season is going to be the season of those tough conversations, not just for me, but for the church, for people in the faith completely. So we're going to be talking about mental health, and I'm super excited about that. We have a special guest who's going to come on and talk about it. I wanted to play some music because there's this one song that brings me in every time. But Facebook be banning people, and I already have a warning on my account, so I'm not trying to be in Facebook jail or nothing like that. So I was like, let me not play her this time. But if you want to know this song, the song is called Outside My Mind by Erica Mason. I'll probably drop it down below so everybody can see it and go listening to it. If it's a real deep song, like it's real deep. It's talking about like dealing with depression and anxiety and just overthinking. I think, well, I ain't gonna get into what I think yet, but I want to start off with a few scriptures before our guest comes on here. So Luke 11:24, and it reads, when an evil spirit leaves a person, it goes into the desert searching for the rest. But when it finds none, it says, I will return to the person I came from. So it returns and finds that its former home is all swept and in order. Girl, forgive me. Also Philippians 4. Let me turn. I got my Bible. That's why I'm looking over here. Philippians 4:19. We need some background music or something like that. But Philippians 4:19, and it says, and this same God who takes care of me will supply all my needs from his glorious riches, which have been given to us in Christ Jesus. So that is Philippians 4:19. I have a lot of scriptures. I'll probably link them down below. Like I have 2 Corinthians 12:9, 2 Timothy 1:7. I think I'm going to do 2 Timothy 1:7. Give me a second. How's everybody's day going, though? I kind of just jumped on here early. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God has not given us the spirit of fear. Yeah, for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-discipline. That's deep. But that's every time you read the Bible, you should be getting that deep feeling, like that. What's it called? There's a word for it. That conviction. That's the word I was looking for. You should be convicted. The Bible's not here to comfort your sin. It's not here for that. And if anybody ever tells you that, they're lying. That's for sure. They are lying. But anyway, so that was 2 Timothy 1:7. So also there is 1 Peter. I said 1 Peter. Peter, my bad. No, yeah, 1 Peter 5:8. And that reads, stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. I ain't gonna read no more on that. That's deep. Stand firm against him and be strong in your faith. Remember that your family of believers all over the world is going through the same kind of suffering you are. So if you think you're alone in this, you're not. I promise you. And I hope our guest tonight explains more of, what is mental health, get down to the grit of it. Because this, like I said, this is a very sensitive topic for some people. I know it's a sensitive topic for the church, people in faith. How do they deal with it? How do you come to terms with it? Is it a spirit? Does somebody get mental illness? Mental illness because of a sin. There's so many things. I was gonna go into something, but I'm not, because I'm gonna wait for our guest. But in the Bible, I don't know if you guys remember, but King Nebuchadnezzar, he went mad in the Bible, and that is seen as mental illness to a lot of theologists. So I won't say that mental illness is in the Bible, but yeah, people acting out in the Bible, that's for sure. So we're just waiting for our guests. Let me know. I have 4 of you on here right now. Let me know in the comments how your day has been, how your weekend is going thus far. Where are you watching from? I'm from Kentucky, Tennessee area. So yeah, if you wanted to know. Let me know in the comments where you watching from, how your day was. And is this a sensitive, do you feel like mental health is a sensitive topic or not? Because some people be like, nah, that's not sensitive. Like, we need to be talking about this anyway. And then some people are like, I don't want to talk about this. Depression is a spirit. So anxiety is a spirit. But, let me know your thoughts. She's not from Massachusetts, y'all. But we'll let her say that. Okay, got Massachusetts. Is that how you say it? Massachusetts in the house today. Hey, how you doing? Or whatever. Hampton, VA, Virginia. I'm pretty sure that's Virginia. What's poppin'? How you doing? Or whatever. It's a cool day. Thank God. I thank God for my husband. Look at you. Look at you. Thanking God for the one. Like my bishop says, the one. But yeah, we're just waiting for our guests. I'm super excited to talk about mental health. I don't know. I feel like it's talked about, but it's not really talked about, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm making sense. I don't feel like it's talked about in the churches enough. I don't feel like pastors acknowledge it enough. I'm on the same. I believe the same thing, but a lot of people be like, I feel like we've already talked about this. I don't think it's talked about enough at all. But yeah, I agree. I think what people have a hard time understanding is mental illness from God? Is it a sin? Is it because I did something in my past? Things like that. I think that's what the church is struggling with. And then some pastors are like, okay, it's you're dealing with this because of something you've done. And then some pastors understand, because pastors are humans like we're humans. And sometimes I don't feel like we understand that as believers. Like, we be so hard on our pastors or our leadership, and we don't understand, like, they deal with depression too. They deal with anxiety. They deal with worry. They deal with certain things that we just don't acknowledge. But without further ado, we're gonna invite our guests in. I'm going to have her introduce herself, for one, because I don't want to pronounce nobody's name wrong. You already know I don't know how to say nobody's name, for one. For two, I want her to tell you what she does. She has this official, long name of what she does. And again, I don't know how to say nothing that ain't in the normal dictionary. It it's in the normal dictionary. I just don't know how to pronounce it. So without further ado, how are you?
How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Rika, for having me on.
No problem. Can you
No
introduce
problem. Can you
yourself and
introduce
tell us what you
yourself
did?
and tell us what you did? Sure. My name is Audrina Jones Bunton. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor, supervisor. Just to add on to that, I actually um, am licensed to provide mental health services. So actually, in the state of North Carolina, and I'm also a Christian counselor.
Okay.
And so, in addition to providing mental health services to individuals in my private practice, I also provide Christian counseling as well to individuals that are looking for Christians that are looking for Christian counseling as well.
Okay.
So basically, diagnosing individuals that may come with mental illnesses and treating as well.
Okay. That's a lot.
That's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah.
First, I
First,
want to
I
start
want to
off with
start
a
off with the
simple. Is there
simple.
an
Is there
echo?
an
Am I
echo?
echoing? I feel like I'm
I feel like I'm
echoing. Am I
my.
echoing?
Is
It
there an
could just be.
echo?
I think
I
there's
think
a.
there's a.
Could be.
Is, is there something that I need to do on my end?
Um.
Um.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
Hold on.
Hold
Let me
on. Let me
mute my.
mute my.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know. Let me just. I'm
Do
going to try
you?
and put these earphones in and see if that'll make a difference.
Okay.
Okay. So give me a second.
No problem. Oh, I don't hear it now.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, ma'am. I don't hear. Okay, that sounds. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
perfect. First, I want to start off with, for one, you got your hands full with your job. Let me just say that. I give you your respect where respect is due because respect is due. Like I can say I couldn't do your job. That's for sure. That is for sure. But can you explain what mental health is?
Okay, so in sort of simple terms, mental health is really the ability to be able to function daily. That really results in productive activities like work, school, caregiving, being able to have really healthy, fulfilling relationships, realizing full potential, and really being able to adapt to change and cope with stresses in your life. That's a really huge one because without that part, none of the other things can really exist.
Mm.
So that sort of in a nutshell is what mental health is all about.
Okay. So, before you came on, I was talking about how, mental health relates to, the church and the kingdom, and how we kind of talk about it, but we're like very surface because we don't really know our viewpoint on it. Is it because of something we did in our past? That's why, certain things are coming up. Is it due to sin? Is mental health or mental illness, a spirit? So, what are your viewpoints on that?
So it can be a bit complicated. There isn't one simple thing that really causes mental illness. And before I actually go into that, I want to sort of give sort of like a what mental. So we talked about what mental health is.
Hmm.
So sort of like an abbreviated definition of what mental illness is really a wide range of diagnosable mental health disorders that involve significant changes in the way that we think, feel, and behave.
Hmm.
And our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all connected to one another. It's a very, very um, simple um, outlook, or, but it's complicated if you don't realize that the way we think sort of is linked to the way we feel, and the way we feel is linked to the way that we behave. And
Hmm.
so when it becomes, so we hear a lot of times that, oh, they just have bipolar, or They are, and we give names to those, but when it really becomes a concern is whenever the stressors affect your ability to function. Say, for example, if you feel that you're waking up in the morning and for whatever reason, if it's not something medical, for example, if you're not able to function in life and really be able to thrive in life. I've heard examples of that. I felt so depressed that I could feel myself so weighted that I just could not get up out of bed in the morning. So that's what mental illness is. So if someone is experiencing various signs, and we can go look at those in just a few minutes, then I would really advise to seek help. And so, to your question about what causes mental illness, it can be an array of different things. It could be early adverse experiences in your life, which may include some type of trauma, a history of abuse, which may be sexual abuse or sexual assault or witnessing violence. It could be dealing with a life-threatening illness. That in of itself, a lot of times people don't think about those types of things. It can also be have to do with chronic medical conditions, near death experiences that individuals might go through. It could be biological factors, or chemical imbalances in the brain. Use of alcohol or drugs consistently can also contribute to mental illness. So it could be an array of different factors that could actually cause it.
Okay, so why do you feel that the church really doesn't address mental illness, mental health?
So you're asking a question that is just dear to heart. I mean, really dear to my heart, because I'm a PK, so I'm a preacher's kid, born and raised in a small village in North Carolina, and so being involved in the church and seeing and growing up in the church, um, sort of tying the mental illness as a therapist and the church is
Mm,
something that I'm passionate about really talking about. And so one of the reasons I think that there is such a great taboo in the church is that we as Christians we're supposed to be strong. We're not supposed to be depressed. We're not
mhm,
supposed to or experience depression. We're
mhm,
not supposed to experience traumatic PTSD or anxiety or those things that might be diagnosed as mental illness.
mhm,
We're told a lot of times to just simply pray it away. Now, prayer works. I'm a living witness. I know that prayer works. But sometimes individuals may go through something where they may just simply need the help,
mm,
need mental help of a mental health therapist.
mhm,
And so I think it's looked at as if I mean terms such as you're crazy if you experience a mental illness. And so we call physical illness as what they are. We call diabetes as diabetes. We call a stroke a stroke. We call um, if you have a broken leg, you go to a
mhm,
medical doctor. But in the church, we have not really been conditioned to really recognize mental illness.
mm,
And so we look at it as, oh, you have mental illness, as it being someone that's crazy. We have to understand that we are as much mental as we are physical,
mhm,
as we are spiritual, as we are emotional. And so I think that that's the taboo that sort of comes with that is that you're not supposed to deal with mental illness if you
mhm.
are a Christian or if you're part of the church.
Right, I agree. A lot of people was like, well, if you know God, why are you experiencing this? If you serve God this way, why are you experiencing that? But I love research. Let me just say I love
Mm-hmm.
research. I love looking up stats, statistics. So I looked up some on mental health in the church. So it is said 23% of pastors actually acknowledge that they have struggled with mental illness. Out of the 75 pastors that are in America, only 23% of pastors are acknowledging that they have struggled with mental illness, whether it be from depression, any form of mental illness. 35% of Christians think that the Bible and prayer alone will cure their mental illness. I was like, wow, that's deep. Like, because people really, like I said, people in the church really don't acknowledge it. And I agree with you say, prayer works. It does, but sometimes you need that helping hand to help you walk through it. And I feel like people, this is how I was taught. I was taught that the church is like a hospital. And we're all sick and we're going to the hospital to get filled back up with God and, to connect with other believers in the faith, to get a sense of hope, a sense of healing in the body. But I'm sorry, that's not, but for some reason, a lot of people don't see it that way. So my next question is, what do you think the church's role is what is the church's role in supporting mental health?
Okay, so like I said earlier, I am a believer that prayer alone can heal mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that, but I think often about the scripture Matthew 13, 18 through 23, whenever Jesus gave the examples about the parable of the sower. There are individuals in the church, just like he gave that parable, and I'm just going to sort of give like a synopsis of it. You may have individuals that may come in the church. You have a slew of people sitting in the audience. You may have individuals that are sitting there, and we're all hearing the same message. One individual listening to that same message may be sitting there, but may not hear anything that the preacher is saying. So they walk out the church, and someone may say, well, what did the preach about today? I'm not sure. You may have another individual that may hear that same message, and they hear it, but they walk out of the church and they do nothing. You may have another individual that may come in, they hear it, and they apply it some, but not to the full effect. And someone else may come in, and they may hear it, and they apply it to the point of being able to be healed. And so, such is the case with mental illness. You may have individuals that may need that a hand being held. And I look at it as this: if we can, as a church, come together, and as pastors and church members can see us as being more of a helping role of taking individuals one-on-one and helping them where they might not be able to get it in that larger audience, because they might not be able to get it. People process things differently. So I might process it, whereas I might be able to heal and take that natural course of healing by prayer. Someone else may need a little more work. As again, it's like physical illness. Sometimes it takes more than simply just prayer alone. Jesus performed miracles all different ways. He didn't do it all one way, right? And so this is a part of that. So to your question about what can the church do, learn the facts. Like you said, you researched it, right? Learn the facts and become educated about it. And then to acknowledge if someone is suffering from depression, if we know that it's depression, we can pray about it. We can pray with them and pray. And then developing relationships like with community services, with Christian counselors like as myself, and then loving that individual in a non-judgmental way and helping to guide them through the process. So those are some things that the church can do to help.
I'm in agreement with you. I think we need, how like some churches have like job fairs and stuff like that. I think we need to have mental health and mental illness like awareness fairs and stuff like that, where people from different parts of the city come and talk about different parts of mental health. My next question, and I should have started off like that, but I was so excited about this topic. Yet, so at the same time, I want to be sensitive, not only to the spirit, but I want to be sensitive because this is a sensitive topic for a lot of people. A lot of people that may watch or hear this are maybe dealing with something and don't know how to express that, I'm going through, or I've been through something and I don't know how to collect my thoughts. So I wanted to be very sensitive. But I want to know, what made you get into the mental health industry?
Oh gosh. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm a PK. born and raised in home with both, Rika, both parents pastors. Okay, both.
Okay.
Okay, so picture that. And so we just, I think just being a part of service is just something that God has called me to do. It's something I've always known. I always recall going on job interviews early on, in my life when I started working, and the job interviewer, the person would always ask, "So what is it that you want to do 5, 10 years from now?" And my response was always to help people, but I never knew what that was. And I sought God, and I sought, and realized, and this is a story for another day, realized that counseling is the thing that God called me to do. Counseling is the thing that I was doing as a child and didn't realize it until I one day ran across some of my high school paraphernalia and looking through my high school books, and had comments from friends about, you're the only person in the world that knows my dearest, darkest secrets. And another friend said, "You're just like dear Abby." And so God really sealed that for me. And it's a
Right.
place that I love helping people be able to move from the place of where they are to where they deserve to be, where God wants them to be. And I love doing it. I really love doing it. So, it was a transition before I actually realized it, but I absolutely love helping people to be able to get to the place of being mentally healthy and emotionally healthy.
I was I thank God for people who are counselors and therapists. Like it takes a special somebody to actually sit there, listen, and be able to be like, okay, you're expressing it this way, but you're really dealing with this, if that makes sense. Like to hear somebody's
Mm-hmm.
jumbled thoughts, because the mind is one of the most beautiful things God has ever given us, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, the body as a whole, but the mind, there's so many different. Like I was watching Good Doctor the other day, and he was talking about, oh, this lobe, controls this part of the body, and I was like, I just found it so interesting. Like the mind has it just controls the whole body, but
Mm-hmm.
except the heart. The heart does a lot as well.
Yeah.
But I just think the mind is a beautiful thing. But to sit there and listen to somebody's jumbled thoughts or their traumatic experience and to help process it for them, I think it takes a most definitely called person, because the average Joe couldn't do it. That's for sure. But someone said you're awesome. Oh, I love that. That is so cute. But
Oh, that's my mom. Hi, mom.
I
Hi,
want to know
mom.
in your profession, what is one of the biggest challenges that you have overcome?
One of the biggest challenges, I would say, um, I would never forget early on as I was studying. This was before I was actually licensed. Um, um, I had an elderly woman to come in. She was in her 80s, and growing up in our culture, we always taught to respect our elders, and we don't tell our elders what to do, or even giving advice to an elder. That is just not what we do.
Right.
And this is a lady that came in, and she was actually experiencing what is called sort of child onset PTSD. She experienced trauma in her as a child, and she was actually going through a procedure during this time that sort of took her back to the sexual abuse that she had experienced as a child, because she had lived so many years of it being unresolved.
Mm.
And when she came into our office, and she was given to me as a client, I sort of struggled with, oh gosh, she's old enough to be my grandmother.
Right.
How can I give her, work with her or to counsel someone that is old enough to be my grandmother? But one thing uh, that really helped me with that is God gave me strength to be able to get through it, because we are called, and one of my favorite scriptures is Luke 4:18, that
Mm.
that Jesus said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because He hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and just to really be able to help those that were bruised."
Mm.
When we're talking about being bruised, we're not talking about just physical only, but
Mm.
we're talking about emotional. We're talking about psychological. So
Mm.
that was one of the struggles that I sort of have had to that I had to overcome during that time um, in my career.
Okay. That, I mean, I feel like, I mean, I agree. I grew up like, you know, you're not supposed to correct an elder. Children are supposed to be
Hmm.
seen and not heard. You know, like the old the old ways. But we're
Yeah,
in a new
yeah,
era now. And I'm like,
yes.
honey, these kids are expressing way more than they need to be.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
I'm like, there's no reason why this 5-year-old knows exactly how she is feeling. Not that it's a bad thing, but I'm just
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I'm depressed. Like a 5-year-old is telling me I'm depressed. There's no way.
Hmm.
Like you don't even know what depression is, but you're depressed. Anyway, that's besides the point.
Hmm.
So, what are some myths or some taboos that are, how do I say this? What are some myths that are about your profession that you are like, okay, people say this for this profession, but it's not really like that at all. Or TV shows this way, and it's not like that at all. Does that make sense?
So when it comes to the profession itself, or when
Yes.
it comes to individuals experiencing?
Okay, you could do both if you want.
Okay. Okay. Um, I think one of the myths is that we don't do the black couches. Uh, early on, I early on as a Christian counselor, because my background is actually in licensed professional counseling, but I also hold a Christian counseling degree as well.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's one of the myths. It's not a matter of just simply, sort of laying on the couch and spilling things out. But one thing that I would say is sort of a myth is um, that person, that therapist, taking um, I would say nowadays it's more of a collaborative role.
Mhm.
It's not it's not a matter of coming in, um, going, like the TV. You see a lot
Mhm.
on television where people are being drugged, being stuck with needles, and they're being in these isolated rooms and all of that. It's not about that unless it's extremely chronic, and we're not going to get into that right now. But
Right.
as a norm, it's basically coming into a therapist's office, which nowadays you're talking about some really nice, sweet therapy offices. Are doing Zoom. I'm currently my clients are currently virtual, so it's Zoom, just like what like we're doing now, and it's a
Mhm.
nice collaborative role. It's about developing a therapeutic relationship with one another,
Mhm.
and it's a lot more, I think, serene, a lot more cordial than what a lot of people think. Um, and so, I think that's one of the myths. It's not as bad as what you see on TV when it comes to
Right.
that therapeutic relationship. Yeah.
Right. I feel you. I had a friend who in high school. Well, I'm about to tell y'all my age. Not that it's a problem, but so I'm 23. So like 5 years ago, I was in high school. Sounds crazy, I know. So I had a friend in high school who, like I believe she seen her mom in a car accident or something,
Mm.
or she had a dream about it. Something traumatic. She dealt with her mom's car accident in a traumatic way. So they put her in
Mm.
counseling, boom, boom, boom. So at first, like she would come back to the school and describe like, girl, I had to sit on this couch and I had to tell this one person in the room. Like she just described it so, like, I was like, so you're in this room with nothing else around, just a couch and you. That's how she described it. But now that I'm listening to you talking about, you know, that's not how it is. I'm glad because I feel like when you go to express yourself, it should be like
Mhm.
a warm environment, like a home like environment. You
Exactly.
should be able to trust your therapist or your counselor. I know many people who go
Mhm.
through multiple counselors because it's just not the right fit for them. And I'm sure the counselor's
Mhm.
okay with it because it's not, most counselors don't get into it for the money. They want to help. They want to be there as an
Yes.
aid. So, because
Mhm.
there was somebody, I ain't even gonna get on that because that's another story. They're like, counselors don't really make that much. And I was like, but they went to school, so they had to make something. I'm like, but
Yeah.
I do want to mention something. I read in your bio, and I'm going to mention this because
Mm-hmm.
you went to Liberty University. I want to go to Liberty. So what did
Uh-huh.
you study at Liberty University?
So I didn't hear. I think I sort of lost you a little bit. So could you repeat that question?
I said, so what did you study at Liberty University? I
Oh,
know, but I want
so
everybody else to know.
at Liberty, I studied
Did I skip
licensed
it?
professional counseling. So I got a master's in licensed professional counseling at Liberty, and I absolutely love the program. I am really biased to the LPC because there are a number of different ways to become a licensed therapist.
Mhm.
And that is one of the ways. And I love the program because it was a really rigorous program. You had to have a certain GPA, and the professors were really great. As a Christian, I love that there was prayer before classes, and I just loved it. I love the program because it actually made me ready once I was done with the program to actually do some real work in the real world. And I would recommend anyone that wants to become a licensed therapist to go through that program. It was a really great program.
I wanted to go. Well, that's my goal. I'm planning on going to
Okay.
Liberty University in this in the fall of 2023. I almost said the spring. The fall of 2023. I want to get my degree in political administration. So
Okay.
I'm once I seen like I've been battling with it for a while. I'm like, should I go? Should I not? Do I really want to take out
Mhm.
student loans for this? And then when I read your bio, I was like, God, is this a confirmation? Are you telling me to go? So because I haven't met
Could be.
Eli,
It could have been Rika.
it could be. He could be answering my prayer, like, yes, this is your confirmation. Go. But
Mhm.
anyway, that's besides the point. I
Mhm.
just wanted to give my spill on your so how can like say somebody's watching or listening and they want to reach out to you for guidance for you to become their counselor, how do they get in touch with
Mhm.
you?
So they could go to my website, which is my name. My name is on the screen.
Yes.
Um, www.audrinajonesbunton. There's no dash in the website. audrinajonesbunton.com. And I actually offer free 15-minute consultations. So they can go to my website, and on that front page, you'll see where you can actually click to schedule yourself a free 15-minute consult. And what I do as a part of that is sort of let me know what's going on, sort of provide some of the things that of what your concerns might be, and then we have a talk. I provide, information about my services and how I actually operate in my practice. And then we take a look at next steps. That is a time that allows the two of us to see if we'll be a good fit for one another.
Mm.
If at the end of that consult, for whatever reason, it appears that we might not be a good fit, what I normally try to do is to sort of guide through the process and to provide some next steps for the individual, either resources or um, to sort of help them on their journey.
Okay, so if you guys are struggling or you feel like you can't find anybody to talk to, make sure you go to her website. It's listed below. Before we go, I do want to ask you this question because I'm very curious.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
as being a counselor, being in the profession of counseling people, how do you, like when you're counseling somebody, do you ask them, like, oh, are you in the faith? Or do you, like, how do you bring your faith into your counseling? Like, how do you merge that all in one if they are in the faith?
Okay. So one thing that I do is during that time that we spend together for the first 15 minutes, I do let them know what I do. And so, in addition to being a licensed mental health counselor, I'm also a Christian counselor. So, if someone is looking for a Christian counselor, and I get a number of individuals that are looking for a Christian counselor, someone sort of unbiased, someone sort of outside of the church, outside of their church, that still has the same beliefs that they do. I let them know the services that I provide. If someone wants Christian counseling, what I do is that I integrate the Christian counseling with the traditional mental health counseling. If it's someone that does not want the Christian counseling component, I do the mental health counseling only. But the two are so connected, and if it's someone that is looking for Christian counseling as well, just being able to see how mental health, how the therapeutic modalities that we use in counseling, they're so connected to the Word. And so anyone that's looking for Christian counseling, we use the Word, we use Scripture, and integrate some of the mental health strategies and interventions and some of the concepts with the Word. And it's extremely effective, Rika. It's just powerful, really powerful. I will say that I'm a no-nonsense type of therapist. It's hard work for me, and I love doing what I do. But I like I like to interrupt the cycle that that has people where they are when they come to me. So we get in and we do the work, and it takes work on that individual's part, and so it takes really having their minds made up that I want change, and we get in and we get some really good work done. I love doing what I do.
I can tell by the way you're talking. I can tell you love what you do. Someone has a question. How many years of college do you need to be a LC?
To be an LPC, so let me see. You actually need at least 6 years of college. After the 6 years of college, you need to be practicing for about another couple of years. So I would say about 8 years. It really just depends on the track that you go through in college. So in order to become licensed, I would say about right about 8 years between actually getting your education and practicing as a beginning therapist.
Okay, there's your answer, Christ-like. But I want to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing and giving your professional opinion. I haven't had an expert like in the profession of what they're actually doing, on my show in a long minute. So when you when I put the post out and somebody tagged you, I was like, then I went to your page. I was like, okay, I need to make this happen, because this is her regular job. Like, she knows what she went to school for this. So yeah, they said, are you going to be doing any future events in the next 6 months? That's a good question. Give us the tea.
I will be doing future events. There's a number of things that I'm actually working on right now. In addition to providing therapy, I also conduct retreats, and I've had many requests to actually have retreats, couples retreats, because in addition to individual therapy, I also counsel couples and families as well. So I have a line up right now of retreats that I'm working on, and I'm also as a part of my church ministry do a Facebook Live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. On my Facebook page. So if you're interested in sort of just hearing sort of the connection of scripture and all of that, Facebook Live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. But I am working on some things. Just if you're interested, you can go to my Facebook page, to the business page, and you can see to sort of stay in the loop of things being posted.
I'm gonna be on there because I need to know. Like, there's this story in the Bible. I'm like, about Nebuchadnezzar, King Nebuchadnezzar, when he went mad. There's a lot of pastors who connect that to mental illness, and I'm like, is it really connecting? Like, or did he just do something wrong, and that was the consequence? I want to get into it. So make sure you go. I think they posted it. Yeah, make sure you go on her page, and make sure every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. I believe that's EST, so 7 p.m. CST, to go check out her live as she connects faith and mental health. It's a beautiful thing. I watched what's today? Today is Saturday. I watched this past Tuesday. I didn't stay on there long because I was like, because if I be on there, I'm gonna be mad nosy, and I'm gonna be asking you the questions before I had to interview you. So I was like, let me not be on there too long.
I get it.
But you're gonna see me this coming Tuesday. That's for sure.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
So I want to thank you yet again for coming. I want to thank everybody who's watching or will be watching or listening for radio purposes. Shout out to all y'all because you're the reason why I do what I do. Until next time, I love you guys. Do you have anything you want to say before we go?
I just want to say thank you so much, Rika, for having me on. I'm hoping that we can do this again. And I will say one of the things that will be coming up is to have a panel discussion about church and mental health. My plan is to get some other therapists on board for us to do like a Facebook Live where we can actually answer questions as we're there. And so there are a lot of things that are coming up. But I just want to say to you, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for doing what you do and continue doing it and go ahead and get that liberty. Go ahead and do what you have to do, girl.
Yeah, it's confirmation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and do it. But until next time, God bless you guys. Remember, only be you, because be the wait. Girl, I ain't say this in such a long time. Remember that you need to be the best version of you, because nobody can be you. Period, boo. I'm so dead.